Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the podcast, Taking Back Comedy. Now, I know I've been gone for a while. I've been having to work on a lot of other stuff, and work has been getting to me a little bit, so I figured I would take a few days off from the podcast. But I'm trying not to do that because these are videos on my free time, so I'm just going to try to do one every Tuesday like always. Try to get out as much as possible. So this one is going to be a little bit of a different thing than usual. Since I run like 3 different channels, run in quotations, this one is going to be a little bit of a different one. I've been trying to hit a lot of the humor marks for a lot of the past podcasts, except for maybe the Paranormal Activity one where it had some humor but not a lot. That was just mostly talking about the paranormal activity stuff. This one would be a little bit different. This one seems to be more of a serious take on stuff. So let me get into character. I know I'm going to get a little angry with this, but I feel like it needs to be said. So, now in recent news, I've heard that the Smash community is in shambles. And I thought, why is the Smash community in shambles? They play games. What's so hard about playing games? What's so hard about playing a fighting game as Mario beating the crap out of Dr. Mario? Except for an existential crisis with the fact that you're wrestling with yourself. And then I looked at what was really happening. And it astounded me. Because I think we've all grown up and we've all found that game that we've used to play all the time, that we used to love. When I was growing up, I had the N64 version of Super Smash Bros. And then I kind of liked it, but it wasn't my favorite. My favorite of all time was Melee. That was the one that I grew up on. So basically what I'm getting at is the fact that that was a game that I knew and I loved. Okay? And years progressed and people made it a huge competitive thing. A scene among scenes. It was held as the gaming icon among gaming icon for fighting game fans. Even more so than Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, etc., etc. Smash Brothers was the end-all be-all. And then not just Smash Brothers as a whole, but Smash Bros. Melee. So much so that Melee becomes this pinnacle of the higher evolution of fighting games. And, you know, it's this pinnacle of fighting game evolution. It's the one that everybody seems to think so highly of. You know, for years it was this big extravaganza. And then Brawl came out, and we thought Brawl was going to be the next big thing. Didn't take off as much as Melee did. In fact, Melee surpassed it once again. Smash 4 came out. A lot more people were into it on both the Wii U and the 3DS, more so than Brawl, but at the same time still didn't get eclipsed by the notion of Melee. And then Ultimate comes out, and Ultimate finally surpasses Melee to the point where it becomes the next big pinnacle. Not only did it have the same mechanics as Brawl, Melee, and Smash 4 combined, but it had all the characters from every game coming back. It was the end-all be-all. And so much so is the fact that this game series has brought us a lot of people in the Smash Bros. Community that became known as these huge pinnacles of the esports scene. You know, people like Senpai and Choctopus. Zero was a huge one, you know, and Nero and King of Skill, etc., etc. They became this pinnacle of the scene, the end-all be-all kings of the scene. Moved to 2 weeks ago, or I would say about a week ago, something like that, when the purveyor of what was known as EVO. The fighting game end all be all. It was the place where fighting games would have their tournaments, would have their stuff held, championed, whatnot. And the setup, the owner, I shouldn't say the owner, but the person that sets it up, the big head of that setup, Jim Cellular, ends up being a sexual assaultist and a man that's coerced several sexual favors from all sorts of different players, underage players, mind you. He gets released, no biggie, but it turns out it's not just him, but everyone that was a huge prominent player in the entirety of the fighting game scene has been outed as a sexual assaulter and abuser. People like Sky, who I've never heard of, had his own house dedicated to these abusers. People like Nero was eventually outed as a sexual assaulter, and not just him, but Keitaro and Senpai, which Senpai's the worst offender of them all because she was screwing with the emotions and manipulating a 14-year-old player by the name of Puppe to do sexual acts on. She's 24 at the time that she was doing this to this 14-year-old. She's 10 years older than him. Absolutely disgusting, and it's never talked about because it's a female doing it to a male, and that's disgusting either way. If you're a rapist, you're a rapist. Doesn't matter what skin color you are. Doesn't matter what fucking gender you are. Does not matter. If you're a rapist, you're a fucking rapist, and you deserve to be hung by your toes and beaten with fucking sticks while people wear Mardi Gras hats and start singing La Cucaracha backwards. Sexual assault is not okay. And I thought my community was a lot better than that. And I have never competed in a competitive scene at Smash. It was not my thing. I didn't want to get professional. I just enjoyed it for what it was. I never got too serious into it because, I did, but at the same time, I didn't take it so seriously to the point where I wanted to be a pro, nor did I desire to be a pro. I didn't want to end up in the same things. And then we find out that people like Nero and even Zero has been outed, and he's admitted to it, about these sexual assault claims. So has Nero. A lot of them have, unfortunately. And it was funny to me that it didn't come to my light until people like Introspective and others were talking about it. And I may not be a prominent Smash figure. I do have a video coming out on this channel at some point about all the moves and their origins from the Smash Bros. Characters when all of them are released. But for the time being, I can't do anything about it since, we're still on Fighter Pass 2, and with the whole pandemic going on, things are slowed down a little bit. But we did get Min Min in Smash, which is a huge thing. But we'll get to that when we get to that. For now, I'm not a prominent person in this community, but I still have some words, and I feel like everybody that is a huge figurehead of this community, of the Smash Bros. Community, or the fighting game community in general, should come out and talk about it. Whether you're low-tier god, whether you're motherfucking Choctopus, whether you're Introspective, whoever you are, you should talk about this. Get it out in the open and discuss this shit, okay? Because it needs to be stated, okay? People like Zero and Nero, I don't care how good of friends they may be with these people. If they have done this shit, fuck them. They are scum, and they don't deserve the attention. They don't deserve anything anymore. These are pathetic individuals who have done nothing but hurt other people. And it's stuff like this that makes me sad, because you figure people in this community, the video game community as a whole, have been besmirched, disgraced, attacked vilified and looked at as vile, disgusting, misogynistic, racist individuals for years, or complete and utter losers who can't do anything, don't get jobs and whatnot, for years. In the era of Clinton, they were looked at as purveyors of violence because they honestly played games that were violent, and it would lead to them murdering people, shooting up schools, all sorts of different stuff like that. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It floors me the amount of insensitive notions that these people are assuming on us. You know, we're just gamers. We like to play fantasy-based games. We like to play the RPGs, role-playing games, because it gets us out of this non-fiction, realistic lifestyle that we're going through now. The real world is a dangerous, awful place. But if you're in a fictional world, there's a happy ending every time. You don't see a Zelda game where Link catches AIDS after fucking Zelda and killing Ganon. Ganon comes back, and before you can kill Ganon for good, Link dies of AIDS. You don't see that. You don't look at a Banjo-Kazooie game and watch the witch Gruntilda stab the shit out of him because she has the ability to do so. You know, you don't see fucking hunters coming out of nowhere hunting down fucking Donkey Kong and making a skin rug out of him. You don't see that because it's fiction. There's the happy end. There's the good guy and the bad guy. There's the villain and the hero. Okay? We're not bad people just because we like to play these games. We're not losers that can't get a job or anything else good for them because we do this stuff that we love. You know, I don't play Conker's Bad Fur Day and then automatically start shooting up people because I think they're zombies. No. I don't play Call of Duty Black Ops and start shooting at people and having PTSD moments, feeling like I'm in the war again. I don't play Gears of War and make a chainsaw gun. Okay? They're games. Let them just be games. Why you gotta keep making this out to be more than it is? It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. They both have done it. And they both have vilified the same community for years. And we have been so divided in the past few years that we are not even standing with each other anymore. We're becoming the very thing we've sought to destroy. The stigma that we've sought to destroy has been infiltrating our community for years now and destroying it from the inside out. Look at Zoe Quinn and her infamous bullshit that she's been putting us through for years, and then claiming that we were sending her a bunch of death threats. I'm sure there was a few of them, but acting like she's the victim is ridiculous. And acting like she has had all this shit happen to her, even though she's doing a lot worse. She drove somebody to kill themselves. That's not right. That's not cool. That's not fun. That's ridiculous. It's misconstrued, and you should never, ever have to deal with this bullshit. Nobody should ever have to deal with this amount of stress and the amount of bullshit that somebody has to go through for this. It's absolutely disheartening to me, and I cannot stand for it. You know, Anita Sarkeesian's another one where if you like characters like Quiet or Mai Shiranui, then you're infamously sexist because you like big titty sexy women, when in actuality there's some sexy women in the world. Not every woman in the world is an ugly fat ass. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. That's the reality of the situation. There are women that look like Mai Shiranui. There are women that look like Quiet. In fact, Quiet is technically a real woman because the person who did it in motion capture and has every basic attribute that she has attached to her body and her facial features. That was her just playing a female character in a game, but the rest of it was basically how she looked in real life. The same thing for the Lara Croft, the new Lara Croft. Okay? Big titties exist. They don't just fly up out of the sky from some person's imagination. They exist. Then we have Jonathan Wu, or whatever the hell his real name is. He's not a girl. He's not a girl. He's not a girl. He's just cancer. And he was running for Senate. And that's not cool, because he was going to destroy us from the inside out too, even though he's like, oh, I'm a game developer, and no, you're not. You're not a game developer. You know who you are? You're the biggest fucking piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. So how did we get to this point where a community that we had to fight so hard to get an acceptance for is now destroying itself? How are we going to climb back out of this hole? It seems inevitable that we're going through this bullshit, and the cancel culture that we're having now is ridiculous, but that's for a different topic, and in fact maybe for a different episode of the podcast. For now, I just wanted to take the time in this short little podcast to talk about the repercussions that we are going through with the Smash community's sexual allegation claims. Okay, and people like Nero and fucking Zero, you guys are pathetic. Okay, you can give your little shitty apologies, but that doesn't change the fact of what you've done. Okay, it doesn't. And in actuality, your apologies are hollow and mean nothing when you have been spending most of your life doing this shit without any repercussions. And now that you are facing a repercussion, now is the time to apologize and say that you've done wrong? No. That doesn't make sense. That should not happen. You are pathetic, and I do not agree with that. And I desperately wanted to not believe that this was real, because after the whole Me Too era where everybody was being outed as sexual abusers and a lot of them were unfounded claims, I wanted to desperately not believe this. And then it turns out that it's real. And I'm a huge proponent that if this shit is real, out it. Same thing for the Channel Austin bullshit. If that was real, which it seems like it was, they had a lot of receipts for that, out them. And never give your money to these people, because they're abusers. Same thing for Kevin Spacey. He abused men. I like him as an actor, but after I heard that, you can't like him again. I mean, you probably could like his movies, but you can't see the same person that you once did when you watched the movies. It's the same thing for Harvey Weinstein. He should be outed. He should be sent to prison, and he did. Bill Cosby is another one, but of course I still have doubts about Bill Cosby, since the people that were attacking him were known compulsive liars and drug addicts. Okay, so I'm still a little skeptical about that, but if they did have actual evidence and claims, because I didn't see the full trial for Bill, then by all means, if he was doing that, he deserves to be in prison. Okay, and he is in prison, so you win. But it's getting ridiculous, and I cannot stand for sexual abusers in any format, and I don't want to see this shit ever happen again. I know it's bound to happen, because unfortunately that's just the way that things are, Horrific events like this, horrific behavior like this, will never cease. Unfortunately, as human beings, we're fallible creatures, and some of us are going to end up being racist, some of us are going to end up being sexist, and some of us are going to be sexual assaultists, murderers, whatnot. You can't kill off things that are inherently human nature. We can all hope that this shit dies out, but it never will until we as a species die out completely. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that's happening anytime soon. I mean, we're not dying from climate change. We're not dying from overpopulation. We're doing the same amount of bullshit that we should be doing. The only difference is now we're going to have more babies running around, because we have a lot more people staying in their houses because our government is stupid. And I think that is where I'm going to end this podcast. So I do appreciate you guys for waiting patiently and figuring out what I was going to say and what I was going to do. And I will see you in another episode. Take it easy, my trapezoids, and be safe out there.